oh sorry, this is part 2 on the families that are read the news for Britain, Sarah Montague in particular, and Humphreys. And in part 1, we profiled how they link into the world-owning bloodlines. So this one is top secret. So the Brooke baronets, remember that there's no mention of his wife on poor Sarah. She's just an ordinary commoner by the looks of things. Yeah, and they're all out of the Duke of Westminster's Cheshire, which is why every one of the hyperlinks for the Brooke baronets of not Chipping Norton necessarily, but the Catholic and the religious icon that is the priory, there is the only one that is still listed, which you can visit and analyse, is Sir Henry Brooke, 1st Baronet. Remember that Hannah Mary's married to a Brookfield. Yeah, this is since 1611 to 1664, and that is just before they launched the glorious revolution to take us into a united kingdom and to let it be run by the Orangemen that planned it all. Yeah, that is the Trump family as the admirals in Holland, and that is Richard Brooke, 2nd Baronet, 1635. All of the hyperlinks, bar 1, are no longer available for our scrutiny. Yeah, High Sheriff of Cheshire, that is the Westminster family's hub. That is Bernie Eccleston and the cover for everything that moves and take over the world's wealth in the name of the Protestant religion. Yeah, in the name of the Protestant religion. Yeah, the heir presumptive is the present holder's brother, Edward Marcus Brooke. So that is, we do not know what has become of Sarah's husband. Born 1966, like her, he is Sir Richard Christopher Brooke, 12th Baronet. The heir presumptive is the present holder's brother, Edward Marcus Brooke, born 1970. And there is a Richard Brooke in 1753 when the Bank of England had been launched, and he's looking okay, and the pictures by Gainsborough. Yeah, they got in the Bank of England 1,250% profits on their first loans to government. Right, we'd better get a move on now that we're into part 2. And here is Sir Richard Brooke on Wikipedia. No photos. I think we've got one of him, possibly at the wedding. Have you got an alias now, Hannah Mary? Norton Priory is Runcorn in Cheshire in England, and that is the Duke of Westminster's home at Eton. Yeah, and that is the cover-up, because that is not where the Eton School is. It's Eccleston is there, and that is why Bernie Eccleston is an agent for the Duke of Westminster, who's alleged to have passed on. Yeah, and then I find the pictures of him with his wife with their kit half off, because they're still having massive holidays in the Mediterranean, where he has his estates as well as the Irish ones right next door to the Duke of Wellington's. Yeah, equivalent to 720,000, and that is the manor of Norton, which were sold to Sir Richard Brooke. Yeah, and let's now go to the next tab. And that's not got anything in it. And there is Sir Richard Brooke, 12th Baronet of Norton, marries Sarah Montague, and there is nothing that is anything to do with those contemporary people. Project Gutenberg, do you get it? All of it is the German and the Orange master race who are taking over the world, and that's why they're on. That is Prince Sir William of Orange was married to Mary. There she is in her orange gear, and that is a pi interest image, because all of them descend from Piso, like Pope Pius XII and the other 11. Right then, so we cannot get Sarah on screen, and Henry Carey, 1st Viscount, Maria and the families that are Boleyn, right next to them in Devon, which is heaven in their fake story. So, nothing on that one. Oh, here she is. She's lovely. Very, very intellectual. And she's a very, very talented and well-informed person, but she earns 1/5 of what Humphreys gets as a fucking pensioner. Married life with husband Richard. Husband Richard actually had breakfast with me this morning. I don't know what name they're using in that fantasy, and the powers that be in this lovely hotel will not tell you about who's booked in. They were chatting to me warmly this morning. Right then, the top 50 women in the system. Wedding of Princess, oh goodness knows who they are. Quite sensible looking people. There is Sarah. Married life with husband Richard. And they were wearing t-shirts that had the word Greece on them yesterday, because I discovered that the Rothschilds owned a significant chunk of Greece. And the Rothschilds, if you've not heard of them before, are everybody's bosses all over the world. And I hope they're having a nice night planning my future in their lovely suits up at the Earl of Holmes. Okay, so Sarah is no longer on any of those, and I think we can just stop there and see whether we can sign off. So there's Dorothea Jorda, the beautiful woman that had more than 20 children. That is the connections to the Protestants in the Ford and Etal properties that are owned by Joyce. Do you get it? Lord fucking Haw HAW, and that is the Germans that came across, and her children, that her name is Jordan, and that is the launch of Jordan, and all the covers for everybody that is a plant into these bloodlines. That is in Newcastle, where the D'Umfreville families were on the outskirts of, and that is the massive joke that was the ballet dancer and her husband. That is the centre forward for Newcastle United. That is a legend in his lifetime, and it was Moira Shearer, so that's Alan Shearer is the male cover, and Moira Shearer, who was a ballet dancer. They lived in Gordon, just outside Kelso, on the Edinburgh Road, and this one was born to raise babies in case they needed replacements. Yet remember that the Rothschilds riddle the royal families with syphilis and all sorts of diseases, especially if they want to despoil the women themselves, so that they can create world leaders as their bastards. That is the use of cyanide and all of the memory lapsing drugs that were used on Nell Gwyn and all of the families that were married to the last Catholics that were able to own the throne before they handed it over to the Protestants, who Dorothea Jordan represents. I don't know whether Alan Shearer is religious at all. Yeah, and there's the Ginsburgs and all of the Frankfurt families that are Lutheran, which allowed them to take over the throne in Britain, and the Salic laws, and all of it is a massive piss take, and the Duke of Westminster is still the richest man on this earth, and his name in real life, or one of his body doubles who's really like him and recommended the casinos that he used to run in Dundee to me as his friend. He now no longer has to pay taxes, which is a plan that the Rothschilds launched years ago when the King of Kings pretended that he died in his 60s, but he lived into his 80s. Yeah, and all of it is a tax evasion gesture so that they can train the next bloodline that tonight are wearing black suits at the top of the High Street in Coldstream. I think we stopped there now. Oh, there's another pie interest one. And here is the theme from the Dam Busters and the Operation Squadrons. That is the Operation Chastise, and that is the launch of planes that can allow bombs that look like beer barrels, yeah, and they bounce along and then they wreck all your capacity to make electricity from the dams that have been built, and that is them warmongering, and everything is absolutely lethal, and the music's lovely. And there is the Piso family's web page that is called Pie Interest. There is John Jernigan remembering Operation Chastise. Yeah, we're going to teach you a lesson. We're going to decimate your land, and we're going to take away the capacity for you to have a drink of water and for us to change that into wine. That is the Piso family's private website. Just a couple to go, and there's the mistake I made at the beginning of the video in clicking on the family tree that have all the war criminals that ever lived. All of them are still at liberty, and they're called Bush, Hitler, Churchill, Windsor. And there's one more tab to go, and it's the world owning bloodline tree. And I don't think we got anything else to cover. Oh, and it's written and owned by possibly Julia Roberts' relatives. Yeah, he's a genius, that man. I admire him for his work. Gary Roberts, he's the best genealogist in world history, but he only sees it the aristocratic way. He does not include the bastard children as bastard children and their parents as that, because that means you have to be a historian or a professor of brain science, and there are the Hutchisons that used to be my neighbours. They've stopped talking to me. Franklin Delano Roosevelt from fucking Selkirk, Delaney's donkey, right through world history. Yeah, and there is Gary Boyd Roberts, and George Herbert Robertian Walker Bush was number 41 of the US presidents. All of them have to be Freemasons so that they can be kept control of. Yeah, and all of it is run out of Germania. Even Rome was intimidated by them. Right then, so I think we'll stop. There's Prescott, yeah, with the word Piso in it. And there is Prescott again, Samuel Prescott Bush, married Flora, that is Flowers, the nickname for Arius Piso. That is Sheldon, that is in the comedy that we've been forced to watch all through my life. That is the cover for the Bush family in the presidency. That is the Big Bang Theory every night on the telly. Yeah, and all the actors are just buffoons like the presidents, but they are murderous and genocidal. Yeah. And there is Abel Danger and everything that they represent. That is Field McConnell's bloodline. He is directly related to the Duke of Wellington's women, like James Blunt and his sister Emily. Yeah, now married to the Wellington women. And yeah, let's stop there. And there are the bloodline that starts with the Habsburgs. Yeah, Geoffrey Plantagenet, King John the Baddie, who signed the Magna Carta. That is John Lackland. He directly descends to Meghan Markle, which is why she's picked as a baddie in the royal family. And everybody's now upset because of the news that is filtering out of this room. Please, please talk about it and embarrass them as well as the police, and tell everybody that their police are run by the Queen of England, yeah, who's the dictator of the Committee of 300, and that is almost as powerful as the owners of the Bank of International Settlements, and that is Prince Charles in the palace. Yeah, there is King Henry I, second and third, who were extremely close to the Knights Templar, the serial killers all over the world, the Templars, the black nobility, as was King John. Mary Stuart, yeah, headless, and the Stuart dynasty, because they're Catholics, including James I of England, sponsor of the King James sectarian Bibles. King George I, 2nd and 3rd, Edward I, 2nd and 3rd, Queen Victoria, yeah, the Rothschild shagbag, Edward VII, and the murderers of Greg Hallett, who told all of the stories, George V and George VI, and they're in black suits, looking smart this evening. Queen Elizabeth II contemplating another assassination. Prince Charles and Elizabeth's other offspring, Anne, Edward, Andrew and Edward, and that's the Love Island now, and all of that covers the Rothschilds and their agents. There is Mandelson and Mandel House that stole the Federal Reserve banks right in the middle of World War I with Woodrow Wilson. Yeah, all of them are chief master masons. Prince William and Harry from Charles's marriage to Princess Diana. Do you see how it makes a lot of difference, Gary Roberts, if you actually tell where the bastards are in the bloodline? US presidents, this has been changed in the last few weeks. Princess William and Harry, that is, William is the son of King Juan Carlos, and Harry is the son of James Stewart. And the woman that is Sophia of the Netherlands is actually the son of the actor that was the actor in the Butch Cassidy and Sundance movie. And the person that was hunting them down is a European aristocrat, and he's called La Force. That is the family name for the European aristocrats out of Italy. The force be with you, and the Star Wars team and everything that is their fantasies. Prince William and Harry, from Charles's marriage to Princess Diana. She's a bastard of Sir James Goldsmith. US President George Washington, John Adams, John Quincy Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Franklin Delano Delaney Donkey, that is Jesus, is Roosevelt. Yeah, that's George Bush, and all of them are related to the Trumps of Frankfurt. Yeah, and Alsace, which is the Swiss place near Davos. It was passed on to the year 2000, US President favourite George W. Bush Jr., that is the son of Barbara Pierce of Anik, and his brother Jeb Bush, the governor of Florida. That is the people that were on the Pope Benedict's interreligious studies team so that they could get rid of the Piso errors that had been left in the Bible, all of which have been translated by the ruthless families that are in it for the cash and the power. Yet there's Merovingians and Charlemagne, 742 to 814. That is one of the world's biggest serial killers, and he, like the Duke of Westminster, partially lives in his casino. And there's a casino in Greece too, and that is Monte Cassino, and the massive massacres on the shores of the Mediterranean and the massive hills just south of Rome, where hundreds of thousands of troops died, always in the name of the countries that they are conscripted by. It was passed on to the year 2000 US presidential favourite George W. Bush Jr. and his brother Jeb Bush, the governor of Florida. Right then, going to stop there. Sorry for the blurred images of Hitler's victims. That is Hitler Rothschild. None of them have been brought to book. And my execution may be quite close. They are all absolutely pathetic, and that is why the government is so facile, and the whole world could be civilized in a decade if they were to be found out, but because the police and NATO's armies are there, Lynn Forrester de Rothschild, there is no way that that can happen unless we get an act of God. And I need to get swimming lessons soon. Bye-bye.